Alright, we got this log that we're going to cut to make coasters out of. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. The thing about glue ups, you never know how they're going to turn out. But got maple and walnut glued together. Looks crappy right now. We'll see what it looks like after we cut it. I do have one flat area that I've sanded on the bottom, so it should sit relatively flat where we cut it. So here goes nothing. Alright, what do we got? We got a lot of burning. Just to be expected cutting through something that big. But looks like once we sand it down, shouldn't be too shabby. Not quite at 90. We're gonna have to clamp this sucker in to get a good cut on it. But see how it goes. That end piece is pretty strong. So we went from that to that. We'll see how it goes. Alright, I got it clamped in, and this first cut is just to square it up, so it's going to be a waist cut, and then we'll see how it goes after that. Here we go. We got a lot of burnage action going. Alright, plan B, we're going to change the blade. Be right back. Alright guys, we're going from this old crappy burnt out blade to this new 40 tooth Irwin blade. So it's thin curve for fast cuts, construction grade, so it's not for really fine cuts, but it should be a lot sharper than this old one. Alright, here we go guys. Got a brand new blade in here, and we'll see what a difference it makes. Here we go. Wow, you can see what a difference that makes already. Nice smooth cut, no burning. I'm excited about this. I'm glad we did that so you can see the difference between an old blade and a new blade. Makes a huge difference. So let's move this baby up for our first cut. We'll loosen the clamp. Slide that up to my stop. Right there. Clamp it back in for some hands-free action. Make our first real cut. Here we go. Like butter. Look at that. Of course, we're going to square up the edges and sand it down. But for the most part, all of the lines match except that one right there, but that's what gives it character. If we wanted perfection, we would just go to IKEA and just buy factory-made crap, right? So anyway, that's what she's going to look like. Let's cut up a bunch more. Here we go. This is my tabletop sander. Yes, that's a $25 or maybe even $20 Black & Decker sander that I've had for probably 8 years. Got a clamp across here as a stop bar, so as you're sanding a piece it doesn't shoot right off. It kind of gives you something to rest it against. Then I've got a jerry-rigged clamp here that is clamping it to my tabletop here. And then of course down here by the trigger, when you press the trigger down you can do that, and that will lock it on so that when you plug it in it runs constantly and you don't have to run the trigger down. There's my dust ejector there, so that'll blow it out towards the driveway away from me. And let's get to sanding. Alright guys, got all the rough sanding done. You can see all the lines match up around the sides, so we're going to have a nice set here. I'll I'll try to keep them separated, but so that we know that this is one set and the other set. But that should be apparent when we match them up. Anyway, you can see that, you know, coasters are usually in a set of 4, and so I clamped 4 of these together and got all the sides sanded. Had to hold it and rotate the clamp 90 degrees to get that last side, but that keeps them all the same size and keeps them matching. We're going. So we unclamp these. Now we've got 4 that match. So now I'll do a surface sanding. This is 80 grit here, so I'll just do a very light sanding because I'm not trying to remove too much material, just to flatten them up a little bit. And then we'll finish them off with a random orbital sander, which I'll... This is probably one of the better tools I've bought in a long time. Of course it's DeWalt, but never mind the name brand. Any random orbital sander will do the job. Orbital meaning because it spins, but if you look, it kind of spins in a random pattern. It moves in and out, and what that does is that creates a random swirl pattern on the wood so that you can't see the lines like you would with a straight sander belt or a quarter sheet sander that just moves. This goes in a random pattern, and the little scratches are still there. The thing is that the human eye can't catch them, so you just can't see them. So it gets it really smooth. This one also, it's got the 8 holes here, and it provides some suction through there with the cooling blower, and it does some dust collection here. You can also hook up a. I'm sorry, I'm emptying the little dust thing here into the grass over here, but it's also got a spring inside there that keeps the bag expanded so it doesn't collapse on you. That just locks in there, but you can also use that same adapter there to hook up a dust collector if you have one, or even a shop vac if you're doing some sanding indoors and you need some extra suction so you don't have dust flying all over. It's great. It's a little bit noisy, but it really does a great job. What I've got on here now, it's the hook and loop pads, so they're really easy to take on and off. And I've got 150 grit on there now, and I'm going to hit the coasters each one time with that, and then I'm going to go to 220 and hit it one more time to get it real smooth before I do the staining. Show you guys a little bit of woodworking hack that I've picked up. You can see here, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a little micro crack there. And you can't see it really well now, but when I put the finish on there, it's going to highlight it. Just like it highlights the grains of the wood, it's going to highlight that small little crack. Now the crack is not structural. You know, it's not weakening the piece because it's not widening when I apply force to it. So it's just cosmetic, and a really quick way to fix that is just take a little dab of wood glue, put it right there on the crack, and work it in with your finger. Kind of push it down and rub it in there. And then what you're going to do is, while it's still wet, hit it with your sander, and that's going to take some material off, and it's going to put the material down there in the crack and fill it in. So here we go. You can see that just filled in our crack. There's no void there anymore, and it actually looks pretty good. If you didn't know what was there, you might not notice it. So we have the same thing on the other side. So we'll put a little bit more glue, and even if it was structural, once the glue sets up, you know how well glue it'll make it strong. But I'm not too worried about the structural part of it. I'm going to try, this one's a little bit bigger, but I'm going to try to get that little gap there too, see if that works. So, put a little glue. And it's a little bit bigger crack, so I don't know how well this is going to work out, but we'll try it. Take it all the way, but it did fill it in some. So what I'll do is put a little bit more glue and do it again. See if it kind of builds up at all. If it doesn't, I'm not that worried about that little tiny niche. It filled it right in. Once we finish that, you probably won't even notice that's there.